All right, I think we're live. Here we go. All right, first one of these I've done in a while. So I think it was October 15th was my last one. Oh man, October was a crazy month for me. I had a lot of weddings I was singing at. Let's see here. All right, yes. So with my long absence, several weeks worth of missed live streams, um, let's dive in. I'm going to spend a lot of time just cranking this out. I've fallen behind schedule. Also, you might have noticed that today is a Wednesday, not a Friday. Today I normally drop a pre-recorded video. I was going to drop one from the Melody series, but I wanted to take a little more time with it. So I didn't feel like it was ready yet. So I'm probably going to either drop that Friday or next Wednesday. We'll see. Either way, I'll probably be going live again Friday or posting a pre-recorded live session. Either way, let's get started here. So I've gone ahead and I've muted everything except for the melodies. Since I'm trying to streamline this quickly, I'm going to start by just orchestrating the melody first. So let's give this a listen to. So a nice solo French horn is what we've got going on here. Then we move to the first violins, playing the same exact thing, with maybe, I think, a slight difference at the end. I think that works. So now we've got this next part here that we need to orchestrate. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A 7-bar phrase. That is weird. That's not very common. Is that correct? Let's give this a quick listen to again. So it's that B, D, F sharp B. So that's a B minor chord. Yep, that's a 7-bar measure or a phrase. I kind of like it though, because typically you hear phrases in 4-bar, 8-bar, and so typically the ear wants to hear this be an ending. This last measure right here should be an ending to this phrase to make it sound complete. But instead of giving an ending, we jump right into the very next phrase. It gives a very, very strong sense of forward momentum. So first, let's look at this. I know that this is the B melody. Yes, B melody right here. Now let's move this over here. These just are all messed up, these markers. Let's bring this over here. And this one will be over here somewhere. We'll fix that later. All right, so we've got this melody right here. I know, because here we've got theme A. You know, that kind of idea. Then over here we've got the new idea. So this is pretty standard for heroic themes, character themes, is to have two themes. One is much more of the, yeah, let's go with the heroic kind of thing, and the second theme being a lot more lyrical. A really popular example would be John Williams' theme for Indiana Jones. Da 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 da. That's the theme A. Then ba ba da 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 da. That's theme B. All right, so let's make sure this is copied for the 5th time. Let's look at what we got here. So lyrical, to me, that says woodwinds. And so let's work with some woodwinds here. Let's see what we can get in. So first off, when you want to orchestrate for the woodwinds have beautiful, beautiful tone colors. And they vary, not just from instrument to instrument, but from register to register. For example, the bassoon has 3 very distinct registers. The clarinets have 4. Flutes, piccolos, oboes, English horns, they each have 3 registers in and of themselves. So going with the woodwinds, let's look at what this range this melody has. It goes from D5 in this MIDI to F sharp 4. So that's a little under an octave. F sharp to D, that's about, let's see, so it's definitely, that's like a minor sixth, I think. Because D to F is F sharp is a major third, which inverted would be a minor sixth. Then we got an E over here. Either way, it's well under an octave, a very lyrical phrase. The lowest we have is an F sharp, an octave higher than middle C. So C3, remember C3 is our middle C. So then F sharp would be here. This is this octave between C4 and C5 in Cubase, which would technically in scientific pitch notation be C5 to C6. C5 here or C6 being high C. This is an ideal range for the flute. Flute and oboe, actually. Well, it goes a little high for the oboe. The oboe pretty much stops in its prime register around this A. I'll be doing a series on instrumentation after the melody series. So we'll go a lot more in depth on each of these choices. But for the flute, this is a very, very strong register. It has a very bright, lyrical sound to it. It's pretty much the stereotypical sound that you'd have for the flute. Very bright, very sweet. You can almost think of like a Hobbit type sound from Howard Shore's score. Very bright, very clear, and very powerful. Let's give it a quick listen to here. Oops, yep, this is not. There we go. I thought it was off beat. And then this launches us into the next part. So another part I'm thinking about for lyrical melodies. Typically in heroic themes and pieces, you have two primary melodies. All right, I've already mentioned that. Theme A, the stereotypically more heroic sound, very frequently is just played by one instrument for the entire phrase. Whether it's trumpets, horns, a stringed instrument, whatever instrument is playing that theme, typically a brass or stringed instrument, more often brass than not. It stays with one instrument for the entire phrase, like we did in the first phrase. When we first stated the theme, you'll remember, for now at least, we have a solo horn playing the entire thing by itself. And we'll play around with this, we'll make it more musical sounding once it's time to do touch-ups. But that's pretty simple. That's pretty standard, I mean. For the lyrical themes, where oftentimes the woodwinds and the strings have their moment to shine, it tends to break it up. Instead of playing a full phrase on one instrument, it tends to bounce around a little more. So for me, I'm hearing these first two measures are one idea in the flute. And then B, A, G sharp. These next two measures, let's take that out of the flutes. And let's place it in the clarinets. Let's disable this first. Let's find clarinets. All right, let's go. Loading. All right. So yeah, looks like we've got some people watching now. Glad to have you guys on. Let me know if you got any questions. I'm gonna just kind of be blitzing through this. There we go. So here we've now got two parts. All right. Well, first let's bring up the clarinet. So with the clarinet, I talked about how the flutes. No, that's the wrong button. The flutes have their ideal range between this C to about this C. All right. So basically, about the C an octave above middle C, all the way up to high C, is the flute's preferred register. And that's kind of like, those are like fuzzy barriers. It doesn't mean that that's an exact cutoff. No instrument has an exact cutoff between registers, but that basic octave is a very strong register for the flutes. For the clarinets, one of their preferred registers goes from about the A above middle C, so about here, to about like an F above high C is typically, so like this register here. Between these two notes, it's safe to say this is a very idiosyncratic range for the clarinet. This is, when you think of clarinet playing a lyrical melody, this is typically where you're going to find it. Now, this is not the only preferred register for the clarinet. Again, I'll have a series on this later. But one thing I do have, no, this should be fine. So let's give this a listen to the clarinets real quick. All right, so that's a little bright. So let's give this, actually, let's listen to the flutes first and the clarinets. Not sure if I like that too much. I feel like it's a little, almost too similar. I want a little more contrast, so let's try dropping it an octave. It kind of works. I've got a couple reservations here. One is that octave leap is quite strong. Going from the flutes up here to the clarinets down here. Very different tone colors, different registers. Sounds a little weird. All right, my second concern is this is smack dab in the clarinet's weak register. All right, so the clarinets have a weak register from about the F above middle C to, again, approximately the A minor third higher. These notes, this register tends to be a little weaker for the clarinet. It lacks overtones. It's not as expressive. It's a bit thinner. One way to get around that would to place it in the bass clarinet, which is very strong in this register and sounds very similar. Don't care much for that, though. Let's see here. Would it work for the oboe? Trying to raise it an octave. Oops. Oboe typically doesn't go much higher than this A here, so no, that's not going to work. What a pickle. Let's see here. You know what? It works. It works. I'm getting too worked up about this. One thing I will do to bring out a little bit richer color is I will try doubling it an octave lower in the bass clarinet. Give it a bit more warmth, a little lower end here in the melody. Let's see here. Aditya, good to see ya. Good to see you. Sorry if I'm butchering your name again. But yeah, it's nice to see you again. You're one of the active members on these live streams typically. So it's good to have you back, my friend. Let's see here. Bass clarinet. We'll copy and paste it for now. Again, we'll do some things later. Let's drop it an octave. All right, so the flute, I'm really liking the flute for this. Let's go back. All right, so I'm not sure how I'm feeling about those clarinets, though. Those clarinets sound a little squeaky for me. What to do? What to do? Well, first of all, let's delete these clarinets. Let's hear how it sounds on just the bass clarinet. That works. That works. The bass clarinet, this would be the upper register for the bass clarinet. It sounds very similar. See here. 1 second. Oh, that's such a vibrato. The bass clarinet sounds very similar to the clarinet in its upper register. Maybe a little darker, a little mellower, some people have said. But the real difference is just the bass clarinet can move around a lot more emotionally and expressively in around this area between C3 to C4, or like that low octave. Because that F to A area, again, in the clarinet is a very weak register for the instrument, and typically avoided by most orchestrators. Let's see here. So let's go back to the flute register. So this is a little high for the oboe. Hold up. What if I lowered it an octave? There's no saying I need to stay in the original octave it was sketched in. I do like that. Let's double it in the flute for now, because I do miss a little bit of that higher presence. Oops, flutes are on legato. Let's get that to sustain so that they can play more than one note at a time. All right. This could work. What if we put this in the oboes? All right, and again, right now I'm just looking for nice tone color matches in the melody. I want that woodwind emotionalness, that woodwind expressiveness in these melodies. Let's see, what if this could work in the English horn, or the cor inglés, and maybe in the clarinet, an octave higher. We'll see. I'm glad to hear I didn't butcher it, and happy Diwali. Yes, I say my family just celebrated Day of the Dead yesterday. Got to take a bunch of marigold petals out to my grandparents' graves. Set up some ofrendas to help remember them. It was beautiful time. I always we didn't grow up celebrating it all that much. For some reason, my abuelos always found it kind of creepy for some reason, so they never did too much. But since they've passed, we started celebrating a bit more after my abuelo passed years ago. I think it was 2014, and now that my abuela has passed as well, we've been celebrating a lot more frequently. Well, not frequently, but each year, and it's nice. So that does go a little too low. Wait, is that? I had it in the oboes. I was gonna say that's not too low for the English horn. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack Diwali. I just think it's a good time of year to celebrate a bunch of different things in many different cultures. All right, yeah, it's getting a little too close to the English horn's low register, which is a very thick, raw sound. But I think that's all right. It'll work especially if I double in the bass clarinet. Now, traditionally, doubling in the single reeds and double reeds has been difficult to do. But in more modern times, contemporary times, instrument crafting, like instrument builders, have gotten much better, and it's not as difficult. That's one option, but what if I did bassoon instead? I'm going to be destroying my computer's RAM right now with all these tracks running. Let's see here. All right, so yeah, if you're just tuning in, pretty much what I'm doing right now is I'm going through and finding the proper tone colors to place each of these melodic lines in. Now, once we've got the melodic lines figured out, we can move on a little bit more and do some the background material. I like that. Bass clarinet and bassoon. Let's see. Let's take a look at these. Are these overlapping? Because that's not the combo I meant to do. That's the bassoon. No, that's the bassoon. That's the bass clarinet. So this is in the bass clarinet's upper register. It's a strong register for the instrument. This is the getting close to the upper register of the bassoon. It's a little thinner, a little lyrical and pale, but I like it for this effect. Although, what if I switched that to the core English, or the English horn? Let's give it a try. I'm bouncing it around. Although this is... No, it's fine. Is it not playing? Why not? This... One second. Oh, it's because it's not in the English horns track. It was in the clarinet solo, which is disabled. Alright, so let's see here. I think we're getting there. We're getting somewhere. Let's, real quick, before I do anything else, let's see what happens if I introduce a little bit of violas here. Why is this not playing? Is it too low? It shouldn't be. It is playing, it's just playing very quietly. I don't know why. Let's try raising that an octave. I think this might be the winning combo. Yep, let's see what we're going to do. We're going to keep the alto, the violas. I'm going to bring the upper flutes back with this register. I'm going to copy this. Put this in the violas. Where is it? There we go. These violas so quiet. Oh, there we go. I have no idea why Spitfire does this for this library. They set everything at like -6 decibels, which is insanely quiet for a default. There we go. Let's put this in the violas as well. Excellent. So once again, what I'm doing here is I'm just looking for tone colors. Because in heroic themes, a very, very common strategy, let's collapse the brass, there's no reason for that to be open, is that the initial statement, there are two primary melodic ideas in many heroic themes. The first is a very brassy, adventurous kind of sound. The second one is more of a lyrical, sweeter sound. For the brassy, heroic sound, it's typical to have the melody played in a single voice for the entirety of the phrase. For the lyrical, more kind of like relaxed themes, it's typically bounced around different instruments. So let's give this a quick listen. Now we have our new statement. This one, I want to ramp up the intensity a little bit. Why is that's muted? I want to ramp up the intensity a little bit, so let's pop it in the flutes again. Yep, here we go. So this is it. This is our phrase. Let's look at the flutes. We'll pop this in octaves again. However, no, maybe just the one. Yeah, we'll do it in one octave for flutes. That way it leaves me open to use the piccolo for more like ear candy type purposes. Because remember, the flute player is the same person that plays the piccolo. All right, you've got one musician for two instruments. Typically, it's whoever's last chair flute. If you've got two flutes, then the second flute doubles on the piccolo, and they can only play one instrument at a time. I'm going to be operating under the opinion that I've only got two flutes. It's a pretty standard size. Let's take these violins, raise them an octave. That's pretty high. Let's drop it an octave. All right, let's see here. The violins, I'm going to take off that last note. I'm going to let that taper off in the flutes. There we go. All right, so the flutes, again, I want it to bounce around a little bit here. So we'll cut that out. But where to put it here? Typically, again, oboes are a good choice. But instead, what we will do is we will try switching to violins too. And we'll drop it an octave. Let's see how that sounds. Yes, have I shifted to Boston? Not yet. In January, I'll be shifting to Boston, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time. I'm actually still looking for a place to live. I am not a wealthy man, so that is proving to be a challenge in the very expensive Boston area, but I have faith that it'll work out. Now, what is that? Let's see. Flutes and first violins. No, don't like that too much. It's too dramatic of a shift for me. Let's try putting it... Oh, sorry, that is my alarm going off. Let's try putting it in... Let's see, the oboe. Was it a good register for the oboe? Let's look at this. Middle C. So from like the... Yeah, this is a good arrangement. Alright, there we go. I think that's good enough for now. Again, we can always come back and do this at a later date to find out more things. But my goal really is to get each of these basic melodic voices figured out before we move on. So let's go from the beginning. Let's see here. So French horn solo. Then we switch to first violins. Yeah, it's a pretty standard progression. And flutes in octaves. And English horn and violas. Flute and violas. Flutes and octaves with violas again. Violins 1, flutes. Oboes and violin 1. Flutes and violins 1 again. Alright, here's what we're going to do. Let's take this. We'll add this to the oboes as well. We will slowly start building up. So. And then we'll do this. We'll take this. Pop it. What notes were those? We've got an E and a G sharp, so that's an E, 5, A flat, 4. That's the A and E just above the C in the middle of the treble clef. This is a good register for clarinet. So let's pop that in the clarinet. Although clarinets typically play lower when they're playing with other instruments. So instead, let's drop it an octave and put it in the English horn. Because that's where the oboe is. So let's make sure that we're taking up different space. Although I don't think the English horn... No, it goes that low. It's just... This is a very thick and heavy range for the English horn. It's not a very emotionally expressive, melodic, lyrical type range. So instead, let's put it in the bassoon, where it's going to do much better. Now we'll say here, we'll take this, we'll add this to the bassoon as well, where we will also add second violins, I think. Let's see here, where was that? So what I'm doing here is something commonly referred to as additive emphasis, all right, or additive dynamics. As more and more instruments start joining in, it starts adding emphasis to this idea. It starts building it, starts getting louder, because multiple instruments playing one part is going to sound louder than fewer instruments playing the same part. Shocker, right? I know. So what we have is a feeling of steady growth near the end of this second half. Let's listen to the whole thing and you'll see what I mean. So here we start in 2 flutes. Then we get to the violas and oboes, I believe. So still just 2 instruments, although the violas are going to be more than that. And flutes and violas again. Again, we're just staying with the same number of instruments, even though it's shifting around. So there we kind of grew a little bit before coming back down to the violins and flutes. Now we've got oboe and violins playing. Now we've got 3 instruments playing, 4 instruments playing, 5 instruments all playing together. Now let me make sure that those violins are not playing in the same octave, because that would kind of defeat the effect I'm looking for. They are. So let's take those second violins, let's lower them an octave if we can. Oh yeah, we can lower those. Although I am going to remove the C sharp or D flat from whichever it is from the strings. So now here we go. We're going back to the heroic theme. And once again, remember the heroic theme is a little easier to orchestrate because heroic themes very typically just stay in a single voice. And especially for us, if you want something massive, heroic, high energy sounding, few options are better than a violin tutti statement. So what does tutti mean? All right, tutti means basically all together. In an orchestra, there are 2 basic types of tutti statements. There is a full tutti, which means every instrument available is playing the exact same thing, just in octaves. That's a beautiful option. It's huge, it's climactic, it's incredible, but it only has one tone color. Because when you have an entire orchestra playing the same part, you can't really shift the tone color very well. I prefer to work with what is called a partial tutti, meaning that there's just a big chunk of instruments all playing the same part. In this example, strings. We have two violins, violins 1, violins 2, and violas all playing the same part. Right, this does not sound as loud as I was hoping it to sound. So I'm going to check a couple things. Yep, Spitfire's thing for the violins 1. Also, let's make sure. Let's go here to forte. One second, did I make sure that the... Can't remember if I made sure that the articulation dynamic mapping... Yep, it's on. Not on modulation. I don't like to use modulation for this. I don't like having that B map to it. I find that it makes... He's slightly... What is this? It's violins 2. What is this? What is going on here? C. I thought it started on a B. Let me see. But anyways, yeah. Where was I? No, it's a C. Let's check at the piano. Yep, it's all on C. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah, so with Cubase, you have all this control. You have dynamic mapping. You can send it to the velocity, which is how hard the note is hit. You can send it to the volume and to any of these. Typically, modulation being the one that's used here. I prefer not to do that. I've explained what modulation, expression, and all that are before. If you would like a refresher, let me know. But for the most part, I like to control each of these individually. If everything is set to just these dynamic markings, it starts to sound a little less organic and more computerized. Let's make this a little more legato. And again, this is all stuff that we will be addressing. So yeah, it does start on B. I was just looking at the wrong spot. Lengthen this. Lengthen that. Lengthen that. Alright, that works. Again, this is just part of the mindless part of orchestrating. Alright, not all of this is sexy, not all of this is exciting, not all of it's, oh yeah, look at us, writing music kind of thing. But it's part of the job. It's part of the process. And I don't think enough YouTubers show this part. That's probably for a good reason. Because it is very boring. But at least you get to see that this is... Let's remove the modulation there. There we go. All right. Let's make sure all of these volumes are established. Yep, that's about as good as it's going to get. Violins 2. Nope, this is too low. There we go. Let's give it one last listen. All right, so we've got 3 octaves in this melody right now. We could add a 4th. A 4th would work nicely. We could pop it in the cello. I'm a little wary of doing that just because if we pop it in the cello, ooh, sorry about that. If I pop it in the cello, it's going to remove the cello from being an option for us to use at a later time. I'd like to use the cello in the bass line and then find a different instrument to add a little bit of tone color to the strings in this melody. Perhaps a horn or trumpet. cello are being very quiet. So we'll try it with the cello. Then we'll try maybe putting it in a trumpet. Trumpet is a wonderful instrument to use at climactic moments. That's one option. Let's mute it. Any other questions? Yes. Now, hey, Nixie, great to have you on. Yes. Then, according to know how useful is the Serum plugin by Extra Records in film music production. All right. So Serum is a synthesizer. It's dominated for a very long time. For the longest, I don't own it. I've watched the videos and it's very powerful. For me, the synth that I am the most versed in, I've got a couple. I've got Massive X is my favorite. I've got Massive, Reactor 6. I've got some things from Reason, FM8. Absinthe 5 is another one I enjoy. But really, I've been, when I'm learning and working on, because I'm not going to say I'm the best synth geek out there. I love synths. I really, really want to get good at them. Right now, I'd say I'm a beginner easily. Let's see here. And I do plan on doing a series in the near future about synths. Well, maybe not that near future. But I love Massive. It's got lots and lots of, let's see here. How do I find them? I don't know. I don't use a lot of the, let's see here. I don't use a lot of the presets, so I don't know how to find them. But these are just different sounds I played on. This very basic sounds. So these are just some nice ambient pads that I created. I like Massive X because you can have complete control over it. Like this is, if you know anything about synths, you know this is nothing special. I'm not doing anything much here. But I'm learning, and I love it very, very much. I really enjoy it. So yeah, Serum is, I can't say much about it. I know it's a powerhouse. I know that it's been a staple for a very long time. But really, I'd say if you want to get into synthesizers and using plugins, the best advice I could have is just pick one and learn it. All right? Lots of synths are incredibly useful. There are lots of people all over Reddit that'll tell you some are better than others, and maybe they are, I don't know. But what I do know is that the greatest synth around in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it is going to pale in comparison to an old synthesizer from like the early 2000s, like Absinthe 1 or something, that someone has mastered and really read the manual. They know how everything works. They know how to operate it under the hood, all that good stuff. So whatever synth you happen to get your hands on, if you're in the market, just master it, all right? Read the manual, please. So many people forget to read it, all right? And they just don't want to. They get intimidated. Read the manual. It tells you exactly how it works. There might be some things you need to look up because if you don't know a lot about synthesizers and how they work, there's some technical jargon that might be confusing. But yeah, whatever you're working with, just make sure you learn it. That's my advice to you. All right, see. Let's see. Lost also for days. Missed the live stream, but once you catch it, YouTube will send it to you. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, glad to know that YouTube is sending it to recommends if you miss it. Yes, I plan on doing a lot more. Oh. My mic. So I might be too far away from my mic. Thank you. Yeah, I'm using a mic off the side. Thank you. Is this any better? Is this any better? We'll see. I'm using Cubase for when you're asking about my DAW. I use Cubase 9.5 actually. It's an older model, but I really enjoy it, and I do hope to upgrade in the future. Yep. Contact Cinestrings and Cinepiano, those are great. Yep, those are awesome sound libraries. I don't have anything from Cinesamples, but I do have Contact, and I love Contact libraries. Anywho, back to this. Any questions you have, keep them coming. Let's take this. Let's see on the violence 2 range. All right, so this All right, so I'm trying to figure, I would love to have a brass instrument playing here. This is a pretty massive range for a brass instrument, though. So this is the area that we're looking at here. That's a B, an octave above middle C, to the D above high C. Typically, in the trumpets, in an orchestral setting, the highest you want to go is high C. Doesn't mean you can't go higher. It's just that's pretty much standard. The higher you go, the more draining it is on the player. The more difficult it is to stay in tune. Going higher than high C is definitely found in a lot of different genres. Jazz in particular goes way higher. I remember geeking out over a screaming trumpet player I got to work with who could go insanely high. And but yeah, for an orchestral setting, high C is pretty much standard. This is a little high, but I might be able to get around that by using a piccolo trumpet. Piccolo trumpets are a bit rarer. All right, they're not used as commonly. They can typically in an orchestral setting go as high as G6, which is the G above high C, which would give us more than enough room to work with this melody. They're typically reserved for more regal and like conjuring images of like royalty and whatnot. Let's give this a sound. Why is this not working? Huh. Why is it not playing? Ah. Legato. It's not playing. If it's not playing, I can't use it. Why is it not working? If it was an issue of range, let's see here. It's registering that it's playing. I didn't just lose all my sound, did I? No, I didn't lose all my sound. There we go. No, don't care much for that. It's a little too high. It doesn't stick out enough. Now, what if we were to drop it an octave? If we were to drop it an octave, this would fit perfectly, very beautifully, actually, in the trumpet's range. Don't know why I didn't think of that first. Let's do that, shall we? Let's put this in a trumpet solo. So then the so a general rule for orchestration is that you want to think of your stringed instruments as a section and your wind instruments as individuals. Well, I mean, like if you have 12 first violin players, or like 12 viola players, you write one viola part. If you have 2 trumpet players, you write 2 trumpet parts. All right? There's a whole lot of reasons behind that. I'll go into reasons why in a future series. But yeah, so this will just free me up to have some more room. Why is this trumpet so quiet? We'll see. Either way, I'm not enjoying this as much, and we're running low on time. So let's just put it in the cello. 4 octaves has a very strong presence to it. All right, here we go. We've got one last thing. What do I want to do here? I want to bring the energy down. We're running low on time. So here's what we'll do. We'll try keeping it in strings, but just removing the highest and lowest register. So let's put it in violins 2 and violas. See how that works for us. And again, I gotta change that. All right, and we can make some adjustments, but let's see how this sounds going from one to the next. All right, so this is still theme B. Oh, let's see. That's a good question. 64 CMDD. I'll answer in a moment. I like that. I think that works smoothly. Moving from the 4 octaves to the 2, removing the extremest octave, the highest and the lowest. I think this is nice. I think this is a working model. It's a nice sketch so far. Nothing is written in stone. We can always shift things. You can always shift things, unless you have a deadline. But yeah, we'll listen to the whole thing. But first, I had a question. You asked, how much did I get into composing to get to this level? I'm actually a bit of a late bloomer. So for those of you who have purchased my book or read anything on my website, you know that I was actually studying to be a therapist before I discovered that I really wanted to be a composer. So I was actually in grad school. Right now I'm 26. I just turned 26 in August. I didn't write my first piece until like late 2018, early 2019. I mean, I'd been a lifelong musician. I'd played instruments. I had not written my first piece until then, and I look back at it, and you always got like a nostalgia for like your earliest pieces. But yeah, I've definitely come a very far way, and I attribute that to kind of my personality. I'm a very intense person. I mean, I like to think I'm easy to get along with. But in terms of like pursuing my goals, I'm very, very intense. So, for example, when I thought I wanted to be a therapist, I knew I wanted to be a researcher. And being a researcher had a really big role in like who I am as a composer right now and the approaches I take to it. And I remember as an undergraduate being told that if I wanted to go to grad school, getting published one time in research or having like an authorship right or presenting at a research conference put me in the top 10% of candidates for grad school. And I ended up doing that 7 times. Between getting my names on different papers, presenting at different conferences, I had about 7 published pieces that I had worked on as a researcher. That's just who I am. It's got its downsides. I'm almost constantly exhausted. I've got a very small group of friends, but we're very close knit. I'm very grateful for that. So I'm not the most social. I don't go out and socialize very often. I'm very introverted. But it's definitely that level of intensity has helped me progress very quickly as a composer and musician. Every single day, I track how many hours I spent studying, practicing, and writing. Today, for example, the timer's running right now because I'm composing right now. I have spent 5 hours and 12 minutes, or well, technically 13 minutes at this point, studying, writing, practicing every moment that I can. On average, I'll spend about between 4 to 8 hours working on my craft. And that's how I progress very quickly. I mean, you can even see my progression on YouTube. My very first video, it's like the Ghibli chords video, was around. I published that around the same time that I just started to commit myself to music.
And I make a lot of mistakes in that video. There are some things I refer to with the wrong terminology, and I get a lot of flack and hate on that video for that. So at this point, I just stopped looking at the comments. But like just the knowledge I have music theory, why the skill set I have from back then is very, very different from what I have today. And a lot of that I spent studying myself, looking for things. A lot of that has been from studying, taking online classes, and now to going back to school. I still think I'm a little crazy for going back to school. I've spent a lot of time in school. I've spent a lot of money. I'm going into a lot of debt to go back to school. But I'm, like I said, I'm an intense person, and I want to make this my reality. Um, so yeah, that's that was a bit of a longer tangent than I meant to go on for all of that. But yes, speaking of someone who's spending a lot of money, if you'd like to support me, I have a book I've written on film scoring, and here it is. I got physical copies. Yes, so there are digital copies online. I've only got like 20 or so physical copies so far. I want to see how well they do first before I order more. You can get them online. This is a lot of time and effort has gone into creating the tools in here. I'll be doing some videos on the stuff in here pretty soon. Probably next week if I have my way. But yeah, I have tools for emotions in music, so like how to translate emotions into music, how to take characters and translate them in music, story worlds, all that cool stuff. So if you've ever heard a theme and you thought, wow, the composer really, really embodied this character, how did they do that? Or like, wow, the music just really fits well for the setting. Whatever it is, if you've ever been impressed by how a composer seems to translate a story into music instead of just writing music for the story, that's what this book is about. So yeah, I'm quite proud of it. I'm excited about it. You can check out my website. It's in the link, I believe, in the description of this video. But yeah, so that's my shameless plug. I'm also doing private lessons now. I just put those up on my website. So if you're interested, check that out. I love working with people. I love teaching. So yeah, that's another shameless plug. All of it helps pay my tuition and hopefully help me find a place to live in Boston. Let's see here. Next question. Where did you learn all of that? Books. Oh, I've learned a lot from all over the place. One of my favorite places for orchestration. So I've purchased books. I've got a couple videos like Q&As where I talk about some of my favorite books. The Berkeley Press is how I discovered Berkeley. But this, I'm about to show you my favorite website for orchestration. So Vienna Symphonic Library, they have a lot of sound libraries, very high quality stuff. But what I like to do is go to the Academy here, Instrumentology. All right, so you can click, let's go on Woodwinds. All right, let's go to Piccolo. We have a lot of information for Piccolo. We've got the history, development. We've got the range. So D5 to C8, it is a transposing instrument. It's going to sound an octave. It's going to be written an octave lower, as you can see. So this is technically D4 right here. This is the way it's written, but it's D5 to C8, not D4 to C7, which is what you see in the notation. But then really cool things is sound characteristics. So this is a lot of the stuff that I've been sharing with you guys. The Piccolo's low register here, D5 to G5. It's about like it's a guesstimate. It's a fairly accurate, it's not a strong cutoff. All right, you can go a little higher, you can go a little lower, but it does a great job of telling you D5 to G5 is a super low register for the Piccolo. It's got a beautiful, haunting sound. And all these different strengths. You can do this for pretty much any instrument in the orchestra. They've got all this fantastic information here. So that's a great resource. A lot of it I have found on YouTube. Some of my favorite YouTubers. I love JJ Berthum. All right, if you haven't checked him out, check him out. Alan Belkin is fantastic. Signals Music Studio is amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of talented YouTubers out there that just do a lot of really great stuff. So yeah, of course I try to do my best with this channel and share things here. But yeah, if you have the money, Berkeley has unrivaled online courses, in my opinion. They just have ridiculously high quality things, and you can learn so much from them. They are expensive, though. Very, very expensive. So yeah, and yeah, so that's where I've learned a lot of my stuff. I've got it from books. Berkeley's Press has a lot of really great books that you can learn from. I've done things like just look like when I wanted to learn orchestration, I Googled best books about orchestration, or books about film scoring, things like that. They're a great YouTube channel. You can always Google what the best YouTube channels are for film scoring, for learning about electronic music, whatever you want to do. ADSR for electronic music. This is where I've been learning a lot of my stuff about synthesizers. They've got great stuff. You can do a week trial. I'm on a 2-week trial right now with them where you get free classes, accesses to all their courses on all these different things. So for example, I really am trying to learn a lot about Massive X. So this class has taught me a lot about that. But yeah, there's no shortage of great resources out there to learn. Yeah, so there we go. Dominique Garcia, the fact that you are choosing to study the theory is great. Also remember, you shouldn't care about the negative comments they say because your progression shows you're doing what you just. Yes, thank you, Dominique. Yes. Yeah, I don't let the negative comments get to me too bad. When that video, my first video, I think you're assuming I was talking about, has a lot of views. That exploded a couple months ago. That's where a lot of the growth for my channel came from. Things have slowed down a little bit from there. If I could have, I wish it would have been one of my more recent videos that exploded like that. But I'm really grateful because a lot of you found my channel because of that video. But I remember distinctly, like the first day or two where it started to really get pushed by the algorithm, just kind of staring out the window and thinking, I have never in my life experienced something like this where there are hundreds of people who have never met me but just seem to hate me with a passion. Which, I mean, it's all right. You gotta be passionate about something. But it was just a moment where I had to think, I was like, is this something I want to potentially expose myself to continuously in the future? It's like, definitely. Yeah, it's like, you can't let that stuff get to you. It's annoying, and I do have its moments. But yeah, so I just set boundaries. Like, once the video gets old enough, I just refuse to respond to the comments. I refuse to look at the comments. And I feel bad because sometimes I get good questions. Sometimes I get really nice comments from people. But it's just a policy I have for myself to stay sane, is once the video gets a certain age, I just don't respond to it anymore. And because there are other ways people can reach out to me if they've got good questions. I've got my Instagram, I've got my email, everything available for people. You can comment on more recent videos, stuff like that. But yes, thank you, Dominic. I really appreciate the support. All right. Yes, we're going over a little bit, so let's listen to this melody real quick. Last call for questions. We're going to listen to the melody arrangement real quick. When it's done, I'll answer whatever questions are there, but after that, I'll probably end the video. All right, nice, simple solo brass. And again, there's a lot of stuff that we'll do during the mixing and mastering portion of this to make it sound a lot more realistic and musical. Then we switch to the high strings. And again, remember the characteristics of a heroic theme A. Typically, the entire phrase is played by a single instrument. After this, we get into more of the lyrical theme B approach, which in many character themes bounces around a bit more. Let's mute that piano so we can just hear the melody. So here we've got it bouncing around the woodwinds and mid strings. Then in this second phrase, we are really starting to pay attention to the concept of additive dynamics. The idea that as you add more instruments to a single part, it's going to get louder. Even if the instruments are all playing the same dynamic, they're not physically playing louder. Layering them makes it stronger. Here we went from 2 instruments, 3 instruments, 4 instruments. Big, nice statement, then bam. And then we'll have a diminuendo, so things get quieter as the heroic theme comes, so it won't clash as much. But now we've got the strings across 4 octaves. And we'll make that sound bigger as well. There will be some things we can do to add to this. We'll have some ostinatos, we'll have the harmonies added. Then we come back down with just the middle strings. And again, there's a lot we can do here. But this is a good sketch area. I think this is a good starting point. We now have the entire foreground sketched. Next video, we'll probably spend a lot of time figuring out what the harmony is going to look like. And whether or not we're going to put any ostinati anywhere. But really, I want to start... I think this is a good video, for me at least. I was able to spend a lot of time and get a lot of progress on here. I really want to crank this out quicker. The patron who won this and is very, very patiently waited since I think like July for this theme. It's taking a very long time. It's almost a little embarrassing at this point. But I'm glad to be able to take this time to go slow. I'm grateful to be able to show my entire process. All right, questions. Aditya, your Ghibli video was great and it really worked. I also got to know about your channel through the video. Yes, thank you. I agree. I think it was a really fun video to do, and I'm very grateful for it. I really am. I'm grateful because a lot of you found the channel through it, like you, Aditya. So I appreciate it, yes. Yes, can I spell the names of those channels? Yes, I will. Here in the notepad. Here we go. Let's go up here. We'll skip a couple. So, right off the back of my head, J Berthum, fantastic channel. Especially his older videos where he does a lot of like theory lessons and stuff is fantastic. 8-bit theory. A lot of you have asked me about like music theory for video games. That is the go-to channel. One of the reasons why I don't cover a lot of that stuff is because he already does it incredibly well. All right, so check him out for video game music theory. Rick Beato, I almost feel like is a must to put down. Great channel for music theory. A very fantastic resource I found early on. Let's see, Alex Mukala, fantastic channel, especially again his older stuff. Really great stuff. Does a lot of like tricks and tips for early composers. He was one of the first resources I ever found. Signals Music Studio, another fantastic channel for music theory, harmony, all that stuff. He actually just released a course on rhythm that I'm really excited to take in the future. I really want to try it out. He's a fantastic channel. I learned a lot from him early on. Also, JJ Berthum, 8-Bit Music Theory, Rick Beato, Alex Mukala, Signals Music Studio. I'm trying to think if there are any others. They're the big names that lots of people know about. I'm trying to find some of the ones that have been most useful for me. Alan Belkin has, of course, a fantastic YouTube channel. Does a great series on... has a fantastic series on counterpoint. Let's see... Orchestrate. I think there's like Orchestration 101 or something. There's another channel on orchestration that turns out I'm blanking on them. Native Instruments. Instrumentation series. Native Instruments is another sound library with a YouTube channel, and they have a great orchestration series that breaks down instruments, their strengths, and stuff like that. Recommend checking them out. Let's see, were there any others I mentioned? They're JJ Berthum, 8-Bit Music Theory, Rick Beato, Alex Mukala, Signals Music Studio, Alan Belkin, Native Instruments, Spitfire has a great channel. If you haven't followed him, Tom Holkenberg, incredible music composer, did the movies like Deadpool, did things like Mad Max Fury Road, incredible. Kong vs. Godzilla. He's a contemporary of Hans Zimmer's. They've worked a lot together. Incredible. He has a whole channel that he's very passionate about teaching, like me. Composer, teacher. I aspire to be like him someday. And he's got an incredible channel. I would love to collaborate with him someday in the future. Maybe if the channel gets big enough, I would just love that so much. I'm a huge fanboy. But yeah, fantastic channel. These are all great resources for trying to learn about film composing, about learning about composing in general. They each have their own strengths. They're all great for different things. Let's see. Ooh, getting more questions. Yes, Signal Music. Yes, Signal Music is a fantastic show. Yes, thank you. Yes, and Tabletop Composer, of course, is a fantastic YouTube channel that hopefully you all agree is amazing. I do my best with this channel. I really try to tackle things. I try to do a little more uniquely. I try to go more of a class approach. So like a series. Instead of just doing one-off videos, I did a whole series on harmony, in the middle of a whole series on melody. After that, I'll probably do a series on film scoring, breaking down the stuff in my book. Go buy my book, please. So going into film scoring and how to write music for stories, stuff like that. Then maybe down in the future, I'll do one more specifically about the actual, like using technology involved for film scoring, and like how you set up a film project in Cubase, things like that, how you spot a film, things like that. I actually did a video on spotting scenes already. But yeah, I want to do one on that. I want to do a series on orchestration again. I've got a series on orchestration already. I'd like to expand on it. Ooh, sorry, I just smacked the mic. Hopefully it didn't hurt your ears. I'd like to expand that series, do a little bit more on it. And yeah, I have down the line, I'm really working hard on mastering synthesizers because, again, I really want to do a bunch of stuff on synths. So I'll probably do a series breaking down synths down the line eventually. I've got different plans for different things. When I get out to Boston, I want to do a lot of interviews. I want to kind of do like a podcast kind of thing where I meet with different musicians, talk to them about their favorite things to do with their instruments, their least favorite things to do with their instruments, things they wish more composers would do, things that they would do less composers would do. Just kind of learn the ins and outs of working with musicians. And then I hope to interview some of my professors as well and get some cool insight from them. Yeah, I've got lots of plans for the channel. We'll see how it goes, though. We'll see. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Counterpoint. Yes. Counterpoint question mark. Is that asking what it is or like how to do it? Or oh yeah, am I gonna do a series on counterpoint? Yes. Eventually. Counterpoint is a very complicated topic. I mean, for me, I'm not the strongest at counterpoint. Let's put it that. I'm still learning. I haven't taken any courses on it yet. I'm still teaching myself how to write counterpoint. So once I feel a little more confident in my ability to not only just do it, but to teach it, then that's it. Because that's something I'm very, very deliberate about. Anything I cover in my videos, I want to make sure it's something I am very confident on. Harmony, I'm very confident with. Melody writing, very confident with. Orchestration, very confident. Because the more confident I am about something, the more simple I can make it. And that's really something very important for me. There are lots of channels out there where it seems like the musician or composer or the teacher likes to hear themselves talk. They like to sound how smart, they like to hear how smart they sound and stuff like that. I really try to break things down as simply as I possibly can because that's really how you can have the biggest impact. My goal is to help as many people write music as possible. I think writing music is one of the most beautiful art forms out there. I'm obviously biased, but I think it's an incredible thing and it's an incredible skill set, and yet way too many people think that it's something you have to be born with or something where the muses have to speak to you and all these crazy things. But it's too many people think that you either have it or you don't, and that's just not true. It's a skill set like anything else. And anyone can pick it up, anyone else can learn it, and that's what I want to try to do. I want to make it simple. I want to make it approachable to people. All right, we are officially like 15 minutes over, so hopefully that answered your question. But yeah, I think we've got a nice start for the melody. Next video, we will be focusing on doing the bass line and the harmony. And actually, probably ostinatos. I'll show you guys my patented approach to writing ostinatos, which I'm quite proud about. I've actually spent quite a bit of time developing it. So that'll be fun. Keep an eye out for that. And so until next time, as always, keep studying, keep working hard, keep writing new music. And also head over to my store, check out my book. I've got physical copies, only a couple. I think I got like 20 that I have available now. If they sell quickly, I'll buy more. If not, we'll see. There are digital copies, audiobook copy. I'm doing private lessons now, so if you've got the budget, check it out. Yeah, until next time, have a good one, everybody. See ya. And end.